Welcome to our Gold Derby TV Showrunners panel. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, and I'm really pleased to be joined by the following panelists. I've got Dave Burd, co-creator and showrunner and star of Dave; Joe Wiseman, co-creator and showrunner of Ghosts; Tracy Oliver, creator and showrunner of Harlem; Brian Peterson and Kelly Souders, creators and showrunners of the Hot Zone Anthrax; and John Hlavin, showrunner of The Man Who Fell to Earth. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My first question is something I'm always fascinated about when it comes to people who are driving a show and the creative vision of a show, and that is, what is your worst nightmare as a showrunner? What keeps you up at night when you're in the thick of production? I'm going to you first, Dave. I'm dying to know what you have to say.
Well, for me, I'd say because my show is like so in the entertainment space that there's inherently going to be like celebrity cameos, and some of the celebrity cameos like aren't actors, they're rappers, and maybe sometimes they're not used to having to get places on time and like be like totally like so it's like for me, I've had incidents where I've had a rapper supposed to show up one day and they just didn't come, and then we had to like figure out what's like, how are we, like, it's not like when you go to the studio and you're supposed to meet up with a rapper and no, it's a totally different animal, because like all the money is just on fire with all the, you know what I mean? So it's for me, and there have been times where a rapper didn't come and I was able to get someone else to take that person's spot, and it was like, thank God that turned out that way. But man, I've been up at night just wondering, like, I've had like episodes of my show where like I'm trying to get a rapper to like do a feature with me and like they won't text me back, and I've like literally been in my show trying to text a rapper to see if he'll come, and they were supposed to come and they don't text me. So it's just like, I just like pray every day that people are going to show up.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
What about you, Tracy?
There's so many. So I feel like there's a writer's room answer and then a production answer, but the production answer is, there's two. If there's beef ever between cast members, I feel like my strong suit as a showrunner is writing. It is not being a therapist. It's not being a negotiator or a mediator. So I'm like, somebody get in here, an adult, handle this. I don't know what this is. So and that didn't happen on Harlem, so I don't want to like say that. But on any show, I just do not like having to get in there and do any kind of like problem solving between people. I always hope that like people can solve their own things. And then I think my writer's room nightmare is a draft that comes in late, that's a page one. So if it if it comes in and it's not on time and I have to do a lot of work on it, that's when the vodka bottle comes out and I start praying, and there might be some tears and some Adele, and it's very dramatic, but I would say those are my two.
Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, tears and Adele. I think you said it all. What about you, John?
The biggest challenge we had was trying to dodge COVID in the middle of COVID, because we were on a pretty tight schedule in terms of the amount of time we had to move directors in and out, and it was a big production, and locations were incredibly expensive in the UK at the time we were there. So just trying to keep COVID protocols in the grand scheme of what's going on in the world today, it's a rather small thing. But at the time when we were making the show, just trying to make sure no one got it, that if someone got it, they weren't terribly sick. And if someone got it, was one of our leads, one of our series regulars, or was exposed to it, could we possibly reschedule around, because we just could not afford to take days off necessarily. But as a writer, Tracy, that was like triggering what you just said. So long, like getting that late draft that you're just like, holy moly, this is going to be a ton of work. And if it's a late draft that also backs into a production start, I don't write well fast personally. Like it's like I like to put a lot of coats of paint down. That's sort of the way I like to do it. So if someone hands me something late and it's not good and I don't have the time to get a lot of paint on it, it is incredibly stressful.
God, yeah, it is super triggering actually. Joe, what about you? Are any of these ringing a bell for you?
Oh, they all ring true. Yeah, for me, so, production is a conveyor belt. And once you start that conveyor belt, it's very expensive to stop it if it's not a planned stop. So to me, the thing that keeps me up is what the future stories are. If we know what the story is, 5 episodes ahead, I'm worrying about what that 6th one is. I literally fall asleep going like, what is that episode going to be? So like, in the writer's room, we have, 201, 202, and all the way to, and it's the ones that don't have a card underneath them haunt me. Like it's my worst. That's my worst nightmare, for sure. Stories, future stories.
Brian, what about you? What keeps you up at night when you're in the middle of production?
I think, it's kind of been touched on, but we were lucky enough to be on a show for 9 years that had this infrastructure and this common language. And when you're doing a limited series, to hit the ground running with everybody from the network to the studio to your actors and your cinematographer and your directors having the same language, so that you hit the ground running and you all know what you're talking about. It sounds a little crazy, but what you're actually shooting and the tone of what you're shooting, because nobody's seen it. Nobody has a mental picture in their head. Everybody's got a different mental picture of the screen in their head of what that's going to be. And it can get really, really tough if people aren't on the same page or don't have the same enthusiasm, because, if you're on a show forever, it's this big family. And, you come into a 6 episode, it's hard to like get up on the horse and get this amazing enthusiasm when, you already have your next job booked. So being the cheerleader for everybody is a big part of the job. Sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
Well, after listening to this, I think I'm gonna open a 1-800 line from 3 in the morning to 5 in the morning, so we can all get on and talk about whatever's going through and keeping us from sleeping. I think for me, it's just dealing honestly with other people's inexperience or insecurities. That's always the hardest, and it can come out of the blue from somebody you weren't expecting it to come from, and then you can find people that are rock solid, and that's great, but it can be difficult. And I think, I can talk about this because it didn't happen on Hot Zone Anthrax, but a nightmare for me was when a director did one take from one angle and then wanted to say that he had covered the scene. And so it's little things like that you could never in a million years expect, and they show up every day. But that's, at the same time, it's kind of, I think, why we all do it, which is I always say I do this because I would be bored doing anything else. And the challenges are, even if they're nightmarish, at least they keep you on your toes.
Yeah. See, what I'm hearing is, as leaders, you would hear this stuff from any profession. You've also got then this added element of the creative vision and dealing with COVID and the studio, and then it finally comes out, and what if it's no good? What if the critics don't like it? What if the fans don't respond? And you're all in this position now where you've managed to get over the line and people love it and it's successful, and now we're talking about perhaps maybe even chances for awards and accolades. So congratulations, you all made it. So the main question that I love asking people in your position is, what inspires you? Because I have my lists, but I just wondered, looking back over the years, what series or film would you say has most moved you and inspired you that you could watch over and over again? I'm going to go to Brian first. I'm curious to know, the guy who's bringing us all these insane pandemic thrillers, what do you love?
Honestly, it's recent and it's a little cliche, but it really is dear to my heart. Schitt's Creek blew through a world as a gay man that I didn't, gay was not taboo. And it just blew the doors off what I think I can go right now, because I was told in grad school, I was told all along, the only way you can have a gay character is if they're a criminal or a minstrel. And I just love that we live in a new world now that's been opened up because of that.
Yeah, I hear Schitt's Creek all the time, and a lot of people discovered that obviously when it was streaming on Netflix. But yeah, it went out with a bang, absolutely, for sure. What about you?
It was
Kelly?
amazing.
I'm going to give two crazy could not be more opposite ends of the spectrum, but Apocalypse Now was probably what got me into film to begin with, and just how around every corner. You can't see it coming unless, of course, you've read what it's based on. But even so, and then Field of Dreams, I know, and I'm gonna get a million calls after this. But every time it's on, when I am skimming through, I cannot stop watching it. I just can't. I think because it somehow, I don't know, it creates this world of wanting to believe in something that I think the fact they were able to do that with just like a field and a farmhouse. I don't know, there's something about it. Maybe I know I'm going to get a couple calls though after this. I love both those movies.
Those people who criticize Field of Dreams, they need to sit down, because I remember where I was the day I watched that. I was like 7 years old, and my dad bought it back on a video cassette, and I'm like, this looks really dumb. I remember being a kid thinking, no, Dad, I don't want to watch this, but we've now seen it 50 times, so I get it. I totally get it. Joe, what about you?
Well, it's I would probably give a different answer any given day. So I'm just going to go with literally the first thing that just popped into my head. And that was the Dick Van Dyke Show. And that was a show that I loved as a kid. And then whenever I've seen episodes as an adult, it still holds up. And it was so innovative for its time. And so it's what I love in a comedy. It's character based. It's relatable. I don't know. And so I feel like I just think it's really impressive what that series did so long ago. And I still love it.
That's a good answer, of course. That's a classic.
I need a TV writer.
Of course. And now look,
TV writer as hero is
I mean, come on. We shouldn't be surprised. What about you, Dave?
I probably like, the thing that came into my head is the Big Lebowski. And more broadly, I would say just like the Coen brothers, probably just like their ability to, the fact that those guys can like make No Country for Old Men and the Big Lebowski, like they can just like do so, like I've never seen someone be like so aesthetically, tonally elevated and then so incredibly funny at the same time, more than them. So they're kind of my role models, so to speak.
Yeah, I know. And like Tragedy of Macbeth just came out from, I mean, yeah, they're amazing. They really are absolutely amazing. Tracy?
The second thing that came to my mind was Raising Arizona. That's
yeah, I mean, that is gold.
Yeah.
We could let's just do a whole session just on the Coen brothers work. We could be here all day. Tracy, sorry, what inspires you the most, and what do you love watching?
Slightly different from the Coen brothers, but I would say When Harry Met Sally was probably this like very defining like movie for me. And I think the reason for it, I thought it also was ahead of its time. I just thought the dialogue was so sharp and witty and just really captured like what it meant to be like to young adults in that time period, and yet still works for today. So I always kind of go back to it just because I think the writing is so brilliant, and I fell in love with New York and those characters. And that's even one of the reasons I romanticized New York and moved there after college. But I love that movie.
Yeah, isn't it funny how that movie still holds up today? Like it hasn't dated at all. There's just something so universal about that screenplay. Beautiful movie. John, what about you?
The first movie I ever saw in the theater in my life was Annie Hall with my dad when I was 10 years old, which is not a movie for 10-year-olds. But I think what I've discovered, I mean, I write a lot of drama, but what my wife and I, which is who I watch all my TV with now, we always unwind with comedy. So it's so great for me to have Joe and Dave, because I've seen both of your shows, all of the episodes. I remember, Dave, when I saw the promos for when it said Dave and you were sort of peeking out of underwear, I had no idea who the character was. I didn't know, I had literally zero idea. And my wife's like, let's check it out. And I distinctly remember going like, holy shit, like this is amazing. It was completely like far afield, I think, of what I was expecting based on the promotion. So I think my favorite thing is to be surprised like that. Because that's both of your shows, and I apologize for the rest of you. I haven't actually done the deep dive on your stuff, but I have literally seen both of your shows, each episode more than once. And it's for me, when you do drama personally, I don't know if the other drama people on the call feel like, I always want to unwind with comedy, because I don't want to sit there and because I'm always worried my work will compare less to other dramas, so I don't want to feel that way, but also because it's just such a joy to sit there and like plug into those shows and laugh and feel, etc. The other stuff. But really, I think the craftsmanship of both of them is really high. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I totally get it. Comedy, there's a real place for comedy on our TV screens these days. You know, in the last panel I did for showrunners, Amanda Pete, one of the showrunners, she was also talking about how Dave inspired and moved her as well. I hope you all get to watch each of your works, because I've had the best time in the last couple of weeks really deep diving into all of these shows, and I'm such a fan. I think you guys should be so proud, and I really wish you all the best for your upcoming seasons and of course this award season. Thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so
for
much.
joining.